Welcome to another video in the Skillful Living series. I want to continue our conversation about a new reality that is emerging for us, that has been forced upon us to some extent. But what I'd like to talk about is how much we can choose this new reality that's now emerging. And I want to talk today about family, friends, and community. We've already talked about taking care of ourselves and the bond with our children, parental bonds with children. But I'll talk about family in more general terms today. So during this time, we've seen families affected in two ways. There are families who are together at home but unable to go out or unable to go out very much, although that's now beginning to ease to some extent, but it's still there. And this is wonderful to be with your own family at this difficult time. But sometimes I think we do get in each other's hair a little bit. But let's think about other families or other individuals who are away from family at this time, this very difficult time. Families who've been separated by the lockdown, by the travel bans. So I know of at least two such families where they would usually be living together in one home, but one member happened to be traveling and got stuck in another country. So when we think of the difficulties they're facing, I think we can count our blessings, those of us who are living with our own families. But it is a difficult time for everyone. Another very difficult aspect of family and lockdowns has been when you lose a family member, perhaps not to the virus, maybe just old age or illness or whatever it might be, but you can't be with them at the end, and you can't be with them, and you can't be rather at whatever ceremonies would normally be held for a departed soul. So I know of people who've had to join in online to sort of watch the ceremonies for their own, for a parent perhaps, or an uncle or an aunt, whatever it might be. So very, very difficult times. Perhaps it's made us realize the value of family, how much we actually do need our families, how much we value them. So going forward, perhaps we'll cherish them more, perhaps we'll count our blessings more to have family, to be in touch. Of course, we are also learning new ways to be in touch with people who are not close to us. I will talk about that in a bit. Just want to spend maybe a moment or two on families that are together. I know it can get a bit tiresome when you're together 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, which has happened in the recent past. It may be easing now, but still quite useful to find ways of living together happily, not getting so much on each other's nerves. First of all, I think it helps if we remember how fortunate we are. So I live with my husband and my mother-in-law and our two helpers. And it's, I think my husband and I say every day how fortunate we were to have brought my mother-in-law over in late January, just before the travel ban started to come down. She was living on her own in India, very far from us. And we just count our blessings that she's here with us. We can take care of her. We know she's well. She's also happy to be with family at this time. But still, there are 5 people in a flat. We do get in each other's way sometimes. I'm very mindful that our two helpers have worries of their own. They're away from their families. They're worried about their families. Unlike me, they can't be with their own children right now, or their partners, or their parents. So I think if for those of us who have helpers, especially helpers from overseas, it's really important to remember that they are also going through a very difficult period. And as for my husband and me, We remind ourselves once a week how much we love each other, and we remind ourselves that even if we do get a bit on each other's nerves, it's okay. We are very fortunate to be together. Sometimes I think an overt expression of affection, of love, is quite useful too. What about parents? Many of us, of course, don't have our parents living with us in our home. Some do, and this virus has put older people more at risk. So, have we also learned to take better care of our elders? As we go forward, will we focus a little bit more on elder care? Think about it a little bit more. Is it enough just to provide financially for the elders in our family? Do we want to be there for them in some other way, to do a little more to make sure that they're well taken care of? Just things to think about. And for some of us, friends are as important as family as well, and always have been. But still, I think the lockdown or circuit breakers we've been through recently have reminded us how important our friends are to us, as we missed meeting them, just having fun with them, spending time with them. And again, we found new ways to connect. I think many of us are making more voice calls or even video calls rather than just short WhatsApp messages. And I think that's fantastic, and something maybe we should continue. We should continue to nurture our friendships, including with those who are not very close to us physically. So then we might have friends in different countries, for example. Important, I think, to stay in touch regularly. And maybe not just by WhatsApp and Facebook. That's fine. That's good and very good in its own way. But maybe even start writing letters again. We don't have to post them. I'm not suggesting snail mail. We can email them. But a proper letter, with news and views perhaps as well. I think that's one way to nourish friendships across distance. During the lockdown, people have sent small gifts to one another. So we received some food gifts from friends, which were really nice. And we also shared some special fruit. We got mangoes from India and shared those with some of our friends. And we received some mangoes as well and other food items. Some people have sent cakes to friends who have birthdays but cannot celebrate physically with all their friends. And again, they use Zoom calls or whatever online medium they like to have a sort of virtual party. So all these things are important. Gifts are important as well. Sometimes just like that, as they say, for no reason, just to say that you're my friend and I'm thinking of you. So let's hold on to these habits, the good habits that we are developing now. And finally, I want to talk about community. The Buddhists talk about interdependence. We are all interdependent, and I think I don't need to explain this concept, because these past few months have made this so clear. We are all interdependent. So let's accept that, and let's together create a better world. Let's not go back to our bad old ways. We can keep the good habits that we had before the lockdowns and the circuit breakers. We can also hold on to the good habits that somehow came up during these lockdowns and circuit breakers. And let's start thinking bigger than ourselves, reaching other people around us with compassion, kindness, just fellow feeling, helping others when we can, receiving help as well graciously if it's offered to us, receiving the gifts literally that our friends might send us as well, thinking in terms of our neighborhood, our city, village, town, whatever it might be, and expanding our consciousness and our connection, our care a little bit further, thinking maybe country level, and eventually hopefully thinking of the whole world Let's start thinking in those terms. That's all I wanted to share today. Thank you for watching. Namaste. I will see you next week.